Piper? I barely even know her. And with that, we've sunk to a new low when it comes to the corny intro jokes. Hello everybody and welcome to the Horror Movie Syllabus. My name is Professor Victor and I'll be your host as we go through all of the essential, noteworthy, interesting, and notorious modern horror films. If you're new to the channel, I recommend you check out the introduction video. There's a link to it in the description below, and it's going to give you a pretty good sense of what we do here at the Horror Movie Syllabus, which is we look at a particular subgenre of horror, and then we pick 3 movies from that subgenre to explore. But this is our Is It Syllabus-Worthy series. This is where I take a recommendation from you guys, a horror movie that I've never seen before that you tell me about in the comments to one of my videos. I watch it for the first time, and then I let you know, is it syllabus-worthy? Is there something about it that makes it worthy enough of being on the Horror Movie Syllabus? And today, the movie we're looking at is The Piper. And The Piper was recommended to us by Gerald Martin, who recommended it to us in our Korean subgenre video, which tells me it's a Korean horror movie, which is helpful actually because there's a few different movies called The Piper, and knowing that this one was the South Korean movie helped me narrow that down a little bit because I knew not that much about it. I'd heard of this movie and I'd heard it was pretty good, and that was about it. And I know nothing else other than can kind of deduce that it has something to do with like Pied Piper just from like the images on it, but that's it. That's all I had to go on with this one. And then I had what Gerald told me in the comment, which was rats are the least problem. That was the quote. And I loved that because it didn't spoil anything, but it did tease a little bit. It intrigued me. I was interested in that. So I finally got around to seeing this movie because it's not the easiest movie to track down, to be honest with you. And so I finally got a chance to see this movie. And did I love it? Did I hate it? Let's find out. Like I said, the movie that we're looking at today is The Piper. The Piper came out in 2015 and was directed by Kim Kwang-tae. And this was their feature film directorial debut, so I'm not particularly familiar with their work. And, you know, this is a movie that, like I said, had kind of gone a little bit under the radar. Like, it doesn't seem like it has a tremendous amount of buzz around it. And maybe that's not the fairest thing in the world, but we're going to go ahead and dig into all of that in just a second. First, if you haven't seen the movie before, the movie is a period piece set in the 1950s, just after the Korean War, and involves a father and a son who are trying to get to Seoul to help the son get a treatment for a chronic illness. And they come across a mysterious village that takes them in and gives them food and shelter and agrees to let him stick around and pay him if they can get him to get rid of the rat problem they have, because the rats are very vicious, very problematic, and he's got Piper who can apparently charm rats out of anywhere. And hijinks abound when he tries to do that, but we're going to go ahead and stop there so as to not spoil it for you. But right off the bat, the movie has a really interesting concept. And the idea is that it's based on the Pied Piper legend, right? The Pied Piper who goes in and plays his pipe and gets all the rats to be let out of town and you know, get them out of the city. And then, of course, you know, he gets stiffed and then brings them all back. So it's basically that story, right? But it's set in this post-Korean War South Korea, and it's kind of interwoven with the South Korean history and politics of the time. And it's really a fascinating backdrop for this story, and it gives it a really fresh, interesting setting to add a whole new layer to the story that works really, really well. Setting this movie when it does, post-war, and making that a plot point in the movie is a great idea. It gives this movie a certain gravitas that the story itself, the Pied Piper story, doesn't exactly have, right? You have this whole notion of the war having just ended, but then you have this mysterious village that is not aware that the war has ended, and they're very much living in fear from the war, and it permeates their entire culture, their entire social structure and political structure in this little village, right? It really is, it infests everything like the rats, and that's intriguing. It's captivating. Like right off the bat, when he gets to this village and everybody's just acting a little bit off, a little bit strange, it draws you in. It really kind of piques your curiosity. Like, you know, something's not right, but you don't know what it is. You can tell that these people are very superstitious. It's kind of drawing in from the Korean folklore, and it's just because it's Korean. And if you're not Korean, you don't even need to understand that, because you're able to pick up on all of this really, really easy. It's kind of universal tropes, right? A strange man comes into the village, everybody's suspicious of him, but they're acting really strange and really suspicious. And he's got a child with him who's sick. He's got a limp. Everybody's kind of looking at everybody's side eye. It's really interesting. And again, setting it in the 50s, which, it's South Korea, but these align, the themes align a lot with America at that time period too, with the Red Scare, right? Because like in America, the Koreans at that time are afraid of communists. They're very anti-communist. They're worried about the commies getting them or infiltrating them. And there's this whole aspect of this that's like Red Scare and that kind of paranoia from the 1950s, both in America and apparently in Korea. That works very well for this movie and for this village and the way they're treating this outsider, this visitor and his son, right? But then there's also this aspect of like Salem witch trial kind of thing, because you've got these deeply superstitious religious people in this village, and they are looking at this villager, and they interpret some of the stuff he does as potentially being bad luck, or maybe some sort of mystical type nefarious thing. They've got their own shaman there, this young woman who's been kind of roped into being the shaman, and there's some sort of energy between her and this new visitor to the village, and that chemistry also gets called into question. And it's like the attitude of the village and the way it turns on a dime. Again, very tied into like the false accusations in the Salem witch trials, the Red Scare, all of that stuff. It's really nice. It's not even allegorical because some of it's literally being said in there, right? But it's a really cool way to weave in this Pied Piper story. It works really well. Now, this is a first-time feature director, and this movie is incredibly well made for a first-time director. First of all, it's beautifully shot. Like, it's shot, I don't know where it's shot, presumably in South Korea somewhere, but I don't know where, but it's out, it's out in like the jungle and the woods and stuff like that, and in this little village, and it's gorgeous. Like, the setting is gorgeous, and they shoot it so well. It looks very professional, very clean, very well shot. It's not gimmicky at all. There's nothing flashy about the camera work or anything like that. It's just shot solidly well. There are some images in here that are beautiful. There are also some images in this movie that are chilling, right? And that's the thing, right? This movie is doing a lot of things like Korean movies tend to do. It's juggling a lot of different kinds of genres and blending them together into something that feels wholly unique and what I call Korean, right? Because that's kind of their vibe. They're kind of this bouillabaisse of genres. And in this one, you've got kind of a folklore fairy tale type aspect to it. You've got this political drama aspect to this kind of like thriller aspect of this tension drama, this comedy aspect to it, which seems like it would be out of place, but actually works really, really well. And then, of course, the horror, right? So this movie is bleakly funny, right? It's got a lot of comedy that is really funny, but also kind of just like bleak because of the situation that these characters find themselves in. So it's just kind of bleak, but still funny until it's not, right? Until it's not, because it gets really, really dark. This movie goes from being funny and kind of charming and interesting to just dark, dark, dark. And again, I'm going to credit the director for this, because these tones could clash, but they don't. It all comes together really, really well. I said this movie's beautifully shot, and it is, but there are some images in here that are chilling and just dark, like just upsetting and disturbing, right? And then you've got the rats aspect. There are rats in this movie. The Pied Piper aspect of the story. He is a Pied Piper basically, and can charm these rats, right? And there's more to it than that, but I don't need to get into the details and spoil things. But the rats mostly look really good here. I don't know how much of it's practical and how much of it's CGI. I'm sure there's at least some CGI, but whatever it is, they look mostly really, really good. There's a couple moments where they look like a little CGI, but mostly they look really good. So I think there was at least some practical rats on camera here, because it looks really, really good. But the movie goes surprisingly dark, and it does not pull its punches. This movie winds up being pretty depressing and kind of frustrating, the way that villagers turn on people and the way lies are being told and stuff like that is really it's really it gets under your skin. It frustrates you. And again, I'm going to credit the director of this, but I'm also going to credit the actors. Pretty much everybody in this movie is giving a really strong performance. The kid, the visitor's kid, isn't great. He is a child. I don't want to harp on him too much, but he is not the greatest actor. But pretty much everybody else is really good. The lead guy, the visitor, is very strong. He's solid. But the village chief, who is kind of the main antagonist in the movie, is outstanding. He stands out in the movie amongst a bunch of very strong performances. He is really great in this movie. You kind of love to hate him. You can tell right off the bat there's something kind of nefarious about him. And then as the movie goes on and you see what he's capable of doing, it's really great and really frustrating at the same time. You just shake your fist at the screen, you know what I mean? But the performances lead to you actually feeling this stuff, actually being invested in the story and caring about when things go wrong and getting sad about it or getting mad about it, right? And then you've got this social commentary on here, which again may not be the most scintillating social commentary in here, but it really is interesting when you put in this period piece. And it's not in America, it's in Korea, but you recognize Americans, at least who know history, will recognize the themes going on here and the aspects of the war and the communism that's taking root there. It's a fascinating thing, and then there's the rats in there, and then there's the cats, and then the cats that are being killed in this, which as a cat lover and an animal lover, it's not very fun for me, but it is part of the plot, right? It is a part of the plot to explain what's going on. So there's no extraneous stuff here. It's while it's a little bit of a slower movie or a longer movie, it can feel a little bit long. It's an economical movie in the sense that everything that's in there is in there for a reason. Again, really tight storytelling from a first-time director, really, really well. And then the ending of the movie is rather bleak and probably a little controversial. Like I said, I don't feel like a lot of people talk about this movie very much, but if they do, I think they'd be talking about the ending because it's pretty dark, right? This whole movie is just like surprisingly dark. And like I said, it doesn't flinch. It doesn't pull its punches. It really goes to places that I did not expect it to go. And I thought it was fantastic. I really loved what this movie did and where it went, and wasn't afraid to go there, and how well made it was, and that it felt fresh and original, and all of it. It was fantastic, but fantastic enough to be on the syllabus. Let's find out. So, is the Piper syllabus worthy? Oh, yes. Yes, it absolutely is. This movie is a hidden gem. It needs more love for sure. It's exactly the kind of movie that I like to talk about on the syllabus because I feel like it needs the exposure. It needs people to talk about it. It needs the light to be shined on it. Like this movie just doesn't have a lot of buzz. It doesn't feel like a lot of people talk about it. In fact, I had heard of it when Gerald Martin mentioned it in the comment to me. I had heard of it. I don't think I was confusing with one of the other movies called The Piper. I think I knew it was this one, but I don't remember why I knew what it was. It may be when I was doing research for the Korean video that I came across mention of it or something like that, but it doesn't feel like it gets talked about that much. Definitely not as much as some of the other really great South Korean movies out there. But it does get critical praise, but that hasn't translated into like cult following or anything like that from what I can tell. Like and this is the thing, right? There are other South Korean horror movies that are better than this, right? That it's a competitive subgenre. So I would have a very hard time trying to get it into the Korean subgenre as on the syllabus. But I'd still want to find a place for it on the syllabus because it's that good, frankly. And so I'm just not sure where it would be. Like maybe I could find a place for it on the animals subgenre because of the rats, right? The folklore subgenre, it might work there because there is like a folklore aspect to this that's fairly strong, but it may not be the best fit for it. But there, if the fairy tale subgenre in our horror movie supplement, maybe like I don't know if the Pied Piper really qualifies exactly as a fairy tale per se. I feel like it does, so that might be a really good place for it, possibly. There's the fanatics subgenre. There's the period piece subgenre. Look, I would find a place to squeeze this on somewhere because I think it's really great. I really like this movie very much. Now, I'm guessing a lot of people haven't seen it because this was hard to find. I had a friend, dear friend, who was able to track down a copy for me to see it, which is why it took so long to get to this one, frankly. I've had it on the list to do for a long time, and I couldn't get a copy. And so finally got a copy, well worth the trouble to find the copy. So if you haven't seen it and you can find a copy of it, I would very much recommend checking this one out. Like I said, it's dark. I don't know, maybe it's a doesthedogdie.com kind of thing to check some trigger warning stuff, maybe. But it's dark. It's dark, it's bleak, it's depressing, it doesn't pull punches. So it may not be for everybody, but man, it's a really well-made movie. It's really interesting, and it does some really, really cool things. I like this movie very much, and I want everybody to check it out. So if you haven't seen it, check it out if you can, and then let me know what you think, because it's definitely worth your time. It's syllabus-worthy. So there you go. So that's my thoughts on The Piper. It's a fantastic movie, and I'm really glad that Gerald brought it up and got me to watch it. And I'm glad that I was able to find a copy. Thank you, Sarah, for that, because it was worth it. I really like this movie, and I'm going to tell everybody about it because I liked it that much. But now I'm going to tell you all about a Horror Trivial Pursuit card. It's that time of the video where I'm going to read this on camera, this card live on camera, and not cut, and hopefully not get it wrong when I try to answer this trivia question. And we're going to go with the international category because we're talking about South Korean movie, talking about an international movie, going to do an international question, right? So here's the question. In 2016's Raw, what is protagonist Justine studying to become? I know this one. We talked about Raw on the channel. It's a fantastic movie. I like this movie very much. I've seen it a few times now. It hits for me in a number of different ways. It's a very well-made movie, very well-acted movie. Goes some really dark and gruesome places, but it also kind of appeals to some of my sensibilities, some of the things that I like, and some of the things that I am as an individual myself, like namely like vegetarianism. Like it hits for me. This movie hits for me in a lot of ways, so I'm very fond of it. We did talk about the channel. Trying to remember which subgenre I put it into. It might have been New French Extremity. Might have been cannibalism. I don't really remember, but we did talk about it in the channel. And if you haven't seen that video, you should check it out. Or if I can figure out which one it is, maybe I'll leave a link to it. But that's not beside the point. I'm just kind of giving you some time to think about this. The movie has a bunch of characters, including our protagonist, in school studying something, and they're asking what that is. And maybe you could deduce that from deductive reasoning. I don't know. If you've seen the movie, you probably know. I've seen the movie. I definitely know. So lock in your answer. Go ahead and take a guess if you don't know. And if you do know, just lock in the answer because we're going to go answer it locked in. Good. Okay. My answer is, of course, she is studying to be a veterinarian. She's studying to be a veterinarian. She loves animals. She's a vegetarian. She's studying to be a veterinarian. And it says a veterinarian. It says a veterinarian. I knew the answer to that question as soon as I read it. That's a good one. I liked that question a lot because that's a movie, again, that deserves a little bit more shine, a little bit more love. That one was more well-known and more well-respected and more appreciated than The Piper was, but it's a good movie. It's a really good movie, and I'm happy to be able to talk about it again because I love it. And I loved The Piper, man. Gerald, thank you very much for recommending this. This was fantastic. I get really excited when one does actually make it into the syllabus, makes it syllabus worthy, because there's a lot of movies out there that I enjoy, but just don't make that cut. They don't have that extra something. The Piper has it. So again, check it out if you guys haven't seen it. Give me more recommendations. If there's a movie I haven't seen, maybe I'll do a video about that one, but it doesn't even have to be South Korean, but take your shot. Let me know about great horror movies that maybe I haven't seen, and maybe they'll be syllabus worthy too. I hope so, because I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying you guys making the recommendations. Thank you guys very much for sticking around to the other video. Next week we'll be doing something completely different, but until then, let's just say class dismissed.